I am a face-swapping artist. I can change anyone's face into whatever look they want. I've helped many people swap faces, and today, someone extraordinary has come. A peerless beauty, the wife of the Marquis of Yong'an, who enjoyed wealth and honor above all others. 3 days after the news spread in the capital that the Marquis of Yong'an was going to take a concubine, the Marchioness of Yong'an came to my humble shop. She had heard that this Zhuang Lu could change people's faces and asked if I, the shopkeeper, would take her case. Looking at her beautiful blooming face, I smiled gently. According to the rules of Zhuang Lu, we do not charge anything for changing the face of a beauty. But the face you remove must stay here in the building for my use. The lady softly agreed. I took out a wriggling goo worm from a box and confirmed with the Marchioness of Yong'an one last time. This is the face changing. A goo worm can only be used once in a person's lifetime. Once your appearance is altered, it can never be changed back. The lady replied firmly, "Go ahead, I won't regret it." I shook out a sharp needle from my sleeve and made an incision below the lady's ear. The goo worm in my hand moved toward the blood. The worm burrowed through the incision into the pale skin of the lady's face. Her crow-feather-like eyelashes trembled slightly, and her pale red lips were tightly pressed together. I always find myself feeling pity for beautiful women, so I asked her, "I have a special medicine that can relieve rashes and pain. I won't charge you. It's free." Back when the lady first approached me and requested a face change, I made it very clear to her about the pain she would have to endure during the procedure. The entire process requires 7 days total. For 5 days, the bone burrows into her skin, separating it from the bone. Then the old skin sheds. As new skin attaches, the bone secretes mucus to reshape any parts that don't fit. Back then, Madame bit her lips bloody in fear, yet now she refuses help. Her voice trembles. I want to remember this pain. Only when the pain is great enough will I stop thinking about turning back. How could I bear to give up such a stunningly beautiful face, one that could captivate a nation, just to escape for freedom? Most of the guests who come to Dianzhuang Lu to change their faces do so either to escape their enemies or to gain a more attractive appearance. Only Madame is different. I am curious, what would make a pampered lady of a marquis's household willing to endure excruciating pain that ordinary people could never bear, just to break free from her lack of freedom? Why must we constantly monitor the goo worm? I entered the Marquise's home as Madame's maid since she couldn't stay out long. Unexpectedly, the Marquis of Yong'an was marrying a secondary wife, a long-lost sister who was actually my face-swapping client. She had stolen the identity of the person whose face she took. At night, just as he was about to rest, the Marquis of Yong'an arrived. It had long been rumored in the capital that the Marquis of Yong'an was a noble romantic, said to be devoted to his wife. I watched him quietly, this so-called romantic who disregarded propriety to take a second wife. With sharp features, a straight nose and thin lips, his face was handsome. However, his demeanor was harshly cold, appearing indifferent. His voice was even colder, almost biting.
"Stop making a scene. Ning'er and I were engaged first. I kept you as my wife out of friendship rather than demoting you, making Ning'er a secondary wife instead. Yet you're still not satisfied. You have her title. What more do you want?"
The lady's lips moved slightly. Her face showed only disappointment and sadness. "Don't forget, it was you who once claimed to have feelings for me and begged our families to let me marry you in my sister's place. If you truly believe the position of the main wife should be hers, you can simply divorce me." The Marquis of Yong'an's expression shifted, and his tone softened a little.
"Don't say that. I could never treat you poorly. Bringing Ning'er home only compensates for her years of suffering. It won't change my feelings for you. This will always be your home, and I your husband. That will never change."
He Wensheng tenderly embraced his wife. She stayed still as a statue in his arms, unresponsive. The Marquis of Yong'an kept coaxing her until a maid's voice called from the door.
"My lord, the lady is having nightmares and calling for you. Please go see her."
The Marquis of Yong'an instantly released his wife.
Ning'er didn't grow up pampered. She lived away for years and has become quite shy. I'll check on her and return.
After the lady nodded, he left without looking back, walking away carelessly. The words the lady muttered to herself were only heard by me, who stood by her side. But wasn't I also someone who grew up trembling with fear? Yet she never once felt sorry for me. That night, the Marquis of Yong'an did not return. Starting from the next day, as more and more of the parasite was stripped from her flesh, the lady felt increasingly intense pain. However, she always acted as if she couldn't feel it at all. Her face calm, a kind of deathly stillness, with hardly any sign of life left in her. Just then, a maid came in to announce something at the door.
"Madam, Master Ye and Madam Ye have come to visit. The Marquis asks you to go to the main hall to meet them."
I supported Madame by the hand and followed her to the main hall. As soon as we entered, 2 elders, both over 50, glared at us angrily. Madame Ye was the first to speak. "Shun Shu, I heard that Ning'er was covered by Meng last night. Didn't we have Ning'er move into the Marquis' residence early so you could help her recuperate? As her elder sister, how exactly have you been taking care of your younger sister?" Master Ye followed closely behind.
"Didn't you study medicine under the Sage of Medicine? Why is it that your sister has been living here for so long, yet you still haven't cured her immune deficiency?"
She sighed. "Father, Mother, remember? Last time I made medicinal soup for my sister, but she refused it and claimed I poisoned her. The Marquis called me venomous and arrested me. You both scolded me all day. No one believed me. How could I dare help her again? The madam snorted coldly and said,
You're resenting Ninger for returning to her role as the Marquis's wife, so you're idly watching her suffer. You stole this position. It's hers, and you should return it.
Madam's eyes welled with tears. She pointed a trembling finger at them. She said she loved the Marquis, so you tricked me into bringing him home. You even drugged him so he'd have to marry her. Because of this, I lost my child. Was it all because you thought I took her place?
Madame Yan retorted, Exactly. If you hadn't stolen Ninger's husband and blocked her marriage to the Marquis after he returned, leaving her heartbroken and wasting away, your father and I would never have acted so desperately. As for your child, that was your own failure to protect it. The madam clenched her fists, eyes red as she questioned them.
I clearly said I was willing to leave my own chambers and give up my position as the main wife to my younger sister. Why did you still refuse?
Master Ye flung his sleeve and arrived late.
A married daughter being divorced by her husband is such a shameful scandal. How could you not care about your reputation? Even if you don't, your mother, your sister, and I still do.
These words were practically a blatant insult, calling the madam shameless. The madam's body trembled uncontrollably, and I quickly supported her to steady her. The Marquis of Yong'an, who arrived late, happened to hear this last sentence. Seeing the madam's pale and fragile face, a trace of pity flashed in his eyes as he tried to comfort her, saying,
Since we married, I've never thought of divorce. You'll be mine forever. I care for Ninger because she's your sister, so my love for her is for you.
Old Madame Ye rebuked the madam.
You failed your duty as an elder sister, leaving the Marquis to mind your sister. Instead of gratitude, you throw a tantrum. How rude and senseless. Marrying a daughter as graceless as you to the Marquis was a mistake. We owe Huaishu an apology.
The madam closed her eyes in disgust, turned and rose. Seeing this, the Marquis's face fell. He pushed me aside and held her waist.
What's wrong? Are you not feeling well? Why didn't you say so earlier? If I had known, I wouldn't have let you go out to entertain your father and mother-in-law.
After saying this, he scooped the madam up in his arms and hurried back to the inner courtyard, not forgetting to instruct me to call for Dr. Ye. Master and old Madame Ye left with unpleasant expressions on their faces. Marquis Yong'an stayed by the doctor's side the whole time as he took the madam's pulse. Only after hearing that her condition was not serious did he leave. It wasn't until there was no one else in the room that I finally had the chance to ask the question that had been on my mind. Were those two elderly people just now your parents? The madam's eyes dimmed as she nodded slightly. I was shocked. Your biological parents? Judging by the way those two insulted her, the madam didn't seem like their daughter at all, more like an enemy. The madam gave a bitter smile. I would rather not be their biological child. Not long after, another guest arrived in the room. Following the maid's announcement, a beautiful woman in a red dress entered the bedroom, her voice soft and alluring. I heard that elder sister is ill, so I came to check on you. I suppose this must be the madam's younger sister, the one who got lost as a child and was only found again after growing up. I looked up, and my pupils suddenly contracted. This person had once visited the branch of my costume shop in Jiangnan. The reason I still remember is because the face this customer wanted to change was truly delicate and captivating. It just so happened that I was traveling in Jiangnan at the time and ran into her. Worried that my staff might not be skilled enough and would ruin such a beauty's looks, I personally took charge. I searched my memory for information about the person before me. She was the old madam of Huaiyue Brothel, already 32 years old, and she had brought with her the corpse of a beauty who had just died and was still warm. She offered her entire fortune to buy the chance to have her face changed at my costume shop. The face she chose was precisely that of the fresh and tender 17-year-old girl standing before me now. Perhaps I stared too long at the beauty's face, for she glanced at me sideways. I offered a respectful smile and immediately looked down. I am skilled in disguise and work for the Marquis, so she did not recognize me. At the costume shop, we always take orders without asking about our clients' backgrounds. Even though I ran into her today for the sake of privacy, I would never reveal a single detail to anyone. Still, I am naturally curious, and I can't help but wonder about the story between this face-swapped madam and the lady's family. At 32, she could not be the lady's biological sister, who is only 20. It seems more likely she has assumed the identity of the person whose face she took. The lady herself does not seem particularly warm toward this so-called younger sister.
I'm fine. There's no need for you to worry. You may leave now. I want to rest.
Understood. Hearing these words, the woman's eyes flickered and she smiled softly. She knew her elder sister was not pleased to see her tonight. I'll let the Marquis stay with you for one night so he can take care of you. You must take good care of your health. The Marquis and I will be married in half a month and will still need your help to manage things. These words, which seemed considerate but were actually meant to show off, made Madame let out a cold laugh. She didn't respond further. Soon after, the house steward announced that the Marquis of Yong'an had indeed arrived. He sat with Madame and chatted idly. The Marquis of Yong'an said that today,
Seeing you bending over with your fair arms, I thought you might be pregnant with my child again.
I went to the palace to ask the imperial physician to prescribe you some medicine for your health. Even if Ninga marries into the Marquis' household as the legitimate wife, I will only let you bear my children.
He looked gentle. Rumors of the Marquis's love for his wife seemed true, but it is now divided. However, his words made her expression cold. You killed our child, have you forgotten? The Marquis's face stiffened, showing anger and guilt.
Still blaming me? If your parents hadn't schemed, I wouldn't have been with Ninga making you miscarry. Your parents clearly don't love you. Only I truly care for you.
The lady stood up, slammed the teacup on the table, and lost her temper.
Get out! I don't want to see you right now, nor do I want to hear any more of your disgusting words.
Marquis Yong'an, having lost face, also turned cold, and his tone became frosty.
I spoiled you, and now you're ungrateful. Ninga begged me not to leave him in the dark, but I left him to see you, yet you won't even look at me kindly.
He flung his sleeve and left. The anger on Madame's face faded, and she returned to her usual calm and unruffled appearance. That night, faint sobbing could be heard from the bedroom. In truth, Madame was not as composed as she appeared on the surface. After Marquis Yong'an left in anger, he did not come again for 3 days. The replacement bone on Madame's face had already loosened most of the skin on her face. The flesh beneath was kept fresh by the nourishing bone threads. Madame had been enduring the excruciating pain of her skin and flesh separating. Today she was finally in so much pain that her eyes turned red, and for the first time, she showed weakness in front of me, her voice trembling as she called me.
Miss Bai, the pain in my face is still too much to bear. Come with me for a walk in the garden to distract myself.
The rockery in the Marquis' residence is tall, wide, and uniquely designed. As I led Madame closer, we heard a woman's voice coming from around the corner. Hunger, why are the circles under your eyes even darker today? Another girl replied resentfully. I've been on night duty these past few days. The Marquis and Miss Ye play together until midnight every night. If they don't ask for water, I don't dare to sleep, and I have to get up before dawn to take care of things. The person next to her lowered her voice even more. Miss Ye really has the Marquis wrapped around her finger. Ever since she moved into the residence, the Marquis hasn't gone to Madame's room. Last time I was on night duty, the Marquis didn't close the window, and I heard him praise Miss Ye, saying her blood smells sweeter than perfume and she's naturally seductive. The maid's voice grew lower and lower, until it was inaudible. The hand Madame had on my arm tightened. I turned to look at her. Her eyes were brimming with tears as she shook her head at me. Understanding her meaning, I quietly supported her and led her away in the opposite direction. Once we returned to the inner courtyard, I finally let go of Madame's arm and turned to see what expression she wore after remaining silent the whole way. With just one glance, I saw silent tears streaming down Madame's face. She bit her lip so hard that she drew blood. Anyone would be affected upon hearing the sounds of joy between a husband of many years and another woman, wouldn't they? I stood quietly, waiting for Madame to finish crying, then took out a handkerchief and handed it to her. Madame wiped her tears while forcing a smile. It turns out that when your heart hurts enough, forcing a smile is even more desperate than crying. When the pain in your heart is that deep, you can't even feel physical pain anymore. I couldn't bear it and reached out to cover her hand. With tears in her eyes, she softly said, "When you're sad, you really shouldn't force yourself to smile. I think I somewhat understand now why Madame would rather endure the pain of changing her face just to escape. The manipulations of her gentle-spoken parents, and the betrayal of the husband she loved. But she was still forced to stay here and endure this. If she didn't leave, every day would be a torment more painful than changing her face. 5 days later, it was time for the procedure. I asked Madame what appearance she wanted. The Thousand Faces Pavilion has all kinds of faces collected over generations." Madame shook her head. "As a child, in order to please my parents, I would pretend to be filial and respectful. After getting married, in order to keep my husband's love, I have always been gentle and considerate. It seems I have never really thought about what I myself want to become. In our line of work, the biggest taboo is developing feelings for our clients. Perhaps it's because Madame is truly beautiful, and whenever I see beauty, my heart aches and I just can't help myself. I felt sorry for her. Since she was indecisive, I made the decision for her. I had a childhood friend who, when he was 18, asked me for a favor. I gave him a man's face, but he died avenging his father and never returned. Today, I'll give you his face. In exchange, visit my friend's mother in Huai City for me. I will ensure your escape from the Marquis estate. Once you arrange it and Madame nods in agreement, I will leave the residence and report back." The warrior who took Zhuang Gei's face. I hurried back to the Marquis's residence with the box. The Marquis of Yong'an returned. Maids guarded the door outside while things crashed to the floor within. Then came the lady's questioning voice.
You forced this on me. I let you take a concubine. You made me run the wedding and made me watch it all. Watching you marry someone else, bowing together at the wedding altar. Chu, Huai Shu, how can you be so cruel to me? You once swore you would only love me forever. Was that vow a lie?
The Marquis of Yong'an coaxed her softly.
I've always loved you. You were my first love. Even with Ninger, you remain my priority. As the lady here, you must avoid gossip. Don't worry about the wedding details, just handle the gifts and invitations, then appear for the inspection.
That disgusting man says he loves the lady while doing things that hurt her. Perhaps because she was about to leave, the lady no longer tolerated the things that hurt her. I heard a sharp slap, followed by the lady's furious rebuke.
Chu Huaishu, you are heartless and shameless! Get out! I will never help you and Ye Guining arrange your marriage. If you are dissatisfied, you can simply write a divorce letter and drive me out of the house.
A long silence followed. Then came the Marquis of Yong'an's voice, gritting his teeth.
Jealous woman, you rejected my respect, so once I marry Ninger, this courtyard. Vacate this for Ninger, pack your things. Tomorrow you're moving to the side courtyard. I won't divorce you. You'll stay here, even in death.
The door was pushed open by someone. The door was forcefully pushed open. Marquis Yong'an stormed out, and I quickly stepped aside. There was nowhere to hide the icebox in my hands, which was still gently emitting white vapor. Marquis Yong'an paused in his steps and glared at me with clear displeasure.
What's in the box? The weather is getting colder now, and you're still delivering ice stones to the madam.
As he spoke, he reached out to take it. I stepped back with the box, pretending to be frightened as I explained. This is a new kind of rock sugar cake from the East Market. To prevent the sugar from melting after it's made, it's placed in a box and stored in the ice cellar to freeze. Actually, it doesn't taste cold at all. Marquis Yong'an stepped closer.
Madam doesn't like sweets. Madam Ning does. I'll take this back to Fangfei Courtyard.
What a troublemaking scoundrel. My hand hidden in my sleeve was rolling a silver needle, planning to wait until, when Marquis Yong'an turned around, I would stab it into his back and knock him out. At that moment, a teacup was thrown from inside the room, hitting Marquis Yong'an squarely on the head. Madam appeared at the doorway with a stern face. Is your love just like that box of pastries in your hand? Because Ye Guining likes them, you took everything from me and gave it all to him, didn't you? Between the two of them, I always felt the atmosphere was strange and couldn't help but sneak a glance. Marquis Yong'an's expression, he seemed to be angry because Madame lost her temper and scolded him, which made him furious. But at the corners of his eyes, there was also a hint of unconcealable joy. I was so nervous when Marquis Yong'an handed the box to Madame. He said with a smile.
Little master, this is the first time I've seen you so angry and jealous. Just a few days ago, you were so cold to me. You treated me in such a way that I almost thought you didn't care about me anymore. I know that these past days, because of Ninger, I've hurt your feelings. There's still a long road ahead, and I will slowly make it up to you.
He will soon realize that there will never be a future for them again. Madame didn't say a word, just glanced at me. I followed him into the room, and he turned around and slammed the door shut with a bang. Marquis Yong'an stood outside the door for a while, but eventually left. Before Madame lay down, I handed her a cup of tea mixed with calming medicine. She shook her head and still refused my kindness. She was still somewhat afraid of my gestures. At that moment, she blinked and took the initiative. She began. Let me tell you my story. Then, my life as a Ye daughter and Marquis' wife ends. I watched her expression. She smiled. Curious, aren't you? Curious why only I'm unloved. Why Chu Huaishu married me instead of Ye Guining. You even eavesdrop on the sparrows outside. Listening to your ears, I realized just how obvious my gossipy nature is. I laughed. I am indeed very curious. Your story begins at age 2. When her father went south for an official post, her mother followed, fearing he'd take a mistress and leaving her with her grandmother. Her grandmother coldly disliked her for being a girl. Most days only maids and nannies were there. Growing up, she saw that other children had doting, protective parents, so she quietly asked her nanny about her parents. Her nanny comforted her, saying by the new year, her parents would. She waited until age 8, when her father returned to the capital with a 5-year-old sister. Separated since childhood, she felt like a stranger to her parents, who only doted on the younger daughter they raised. On the sister's first lantern festival, the parents left her home to take the younger girl out. Tragically, the sister vanished in the crowds. Despite searching for 6 months, they never found her. Lacking news, they consulted a fortune teller. A divination suggested that renaming the eldest sister after her sibling would bring the younger sister back. So, after losing his younger sister, he also lost his own name. He changed from Yeshu to Yeshunshu. Yeshu was originally his younger sister's name. Throughout his childhood, whenever he was happy, his parents would always mention the lost sister by his side. You get to enjoy a good life at home, but my poor Shua. Who knows where she's suffering right now? Your sister still hasn't been found, so how can you be so happy, so at ease living a good life? Everything you wear and use should have been hers. Your sister was fair and adorable since she was little. These clothes and jewelry, she would look even better wearing them. Such heavy accusations filled his young heart. Guilt made him become humble and pleasing to his parents. His father was sickly, and his mother had headaches and back pain after childbirth. To save his parents, he knelt 3 days at a doctor's door. He finally won an apprenticeship to learn the craft. Once skilled, he gave his parents monthly acupuncture, plus massages and medicine. Through persistent efforts to please them, his parents grew closer to him. But this closeness faded once Ye Guining returned. His parents' affection turned to hostility, as they schemed against him until they lost their own child. While in Jiangnan, the Marquis of Yong'an studied under his father while mourning his grandmother. During this time, his mother gave birth to a daughter, leading the families to arrange a childhood betrothal. Since his sister's disappearance, the Marquis of Yong'an frequently visited Master Ye. Through these frequent visits, this first teacher became quite familiar with him too. The Marquis was just 2 months older, and as her feelings grew, she fell for him in secret. For this young man who would bring her sweets and little folk trinkets. However, she knew that he was her younger sister's childhood betrothal, so she never showed her feelings, and even deliberately acted distant and cold toward him. Later, Master Ye took the initiative to bring it up. To avoid delaying him, she tried to end their engagement, but the Marquis refused to break their childhood pact. Before their parents, he vowed he loved her and would honor the Ye family agreement. So, at 16, she married the man she secretly loved. Someone she never expected even promised to love only her forever. It felt like a happy dream, but it only lasted. 4 years later, her lost younger sister was finally found. Her husband, who once promised forever, changed after a night with her sister. He ignored her, causing a miscarriage and a difficult recovery. Now he bluntly claims he must take responsibility and demands her sister join the house as an equal wife. While she spent her days in tears during her confinement, the husband who once treated her with deep affection now said, "She said that I was just pretending to be pitiful as a way to stop her sister from entering the household. And everyone said it was me. They said I replaced my sister, and that the Marquis only kept me out of mercy for our past. They all forced me to yield, to watch my love marry another." Driven to despair, I entered the dressing room and stabbed myself before the mirror. A sedative-tipped needle touched my skin. As the lady spoke, she fell asleep. I bit a small bell. The parasite under her skin retracted its threads. I removed the face I'd worn for 5 days and swapped it for an old acquaintance's face from Bingxia. The parasite dutifully worked inside. I adjusted the fit between the skin and my flesh and bones until midnight, when a shadowy figure silently slipped into the residence and dumped the female corpse he was carrying. In front of me, I pointed at the lady sleeping soundly on the bed and spoke to the newcomer. "Take him and the bundle beside him away together, and hide them in the Dianzhuang Tower. Rest in my room for 2 days. After the little goo worm emerges, you can leave in person." After escorting him to the Zhao family in Huicheng, I found the lady hidden away. I poured kerosene hidden under the lady's bed all over the room, then threw out a fire striker. At the very instant the fire serpent engulfed the room, I used the momentum to leap onto a distant tree. I concealed myself, and the maid had already been sent back to the servants' quarters. By the time the people of the Marquis's residence discovered the fire, half of the lady's room had already burned. I saw Marquis Yong'an rush over in a panic, almost losing control. He shouted the lady's name uncontrollably, and I saw the lady had already left something in the courtyard in advance. A farewell letter drifted to Marquis Yong'an's feet on the wind. With trembling hands he picked it up. "Today with my life I sever all ties. Both the kindness of raising me and all feelings of love are completely cut off. From now on, whether in the heavens above or the underworld below, I only wish to be separated from you and never see you again." I saw that false. Miss Ye tried to rush into the sea of flames, but was held back. Marquis Yong'an, who was supposed to save her, instead forcefully pushed her to the ground. After the Marquis's staff quenched the fire, they brought out a charred body. The Marquis wailed, kneeling on the ground, sobbing in agony.
Xiaoxi, it was my fault. I won't marry a concubine anymore. Please come back, okay? I only want you. From now on, I only want you.
Human nature is despicable. We only value things once they're gone. I laughed coldly, done with this farce. I masked my face and slipped into the night. I never expected that after half a year I would see Marquis Yong'an again. I was just outside buying a bouquet of flowers from a little beggar. By the time I smelled a strange fragrance, it was already too late. The drug scent entered my lungs and I immediately blacked out and collapsed to the ground. When I woke up, I had already arrived. In a dark prison cell, Marquis Yong'an was sitting just on the other side of a door from me, and I swayed. Swaying, I realized my hands and feet were all bound to the iron chains on the wall, which surprised me a little.
"Where is this? Why did you capture me?"
I was indeed surprised that Marquis Yong'an was able to track me down. It seems this person is not the lustful fool I thought he was. Marquis Yong'an's sinister gaze fell upon me, and the intent to kill was unmistakable.
"Master of Dianzhuang Tower, Bai Feiyan, you ruined my wife. If I spare you today, it will not be your death."
I wasn't flustered at all and mocked. "Isn't your wife right in your own mansion, Marquis? I even attended your wedding ceremony that day. A month ago, your wife was visibly pregnant before faking her death to escape. I remember Marquis Yong'an's devastation that day. I thought he'd mourn for a year, but in under 2 months, he and that fake second miss already had a child. A man who can't stand being alone shouldn't cling to the madam," the Marquis retorted.
"I know Xiaoxi objects to a concubine as wife, so Ning'er was only a noble concubine. If she returns, I'll forgive your deception. She remains my only wife, Chu Huixiu."
I eyed him disdainfully. "She saw a filthy, unkempt man, and you want her as a wife? Is that meant to be a favor or honor?" Marquis Yong'an spat.
"Bai Feiyan, I'm not here to argue. If you don't tell me where the young master is, you'll face the Dali Temple's unique punishments. All sorts of tortures."
After saying this, Marquis Yong'an picked up the small crossbow and, with a gentle press, 2 blades shot out like meteors and struck. A sharp pain shot through my shoulder as the flesh was pierced, and the arrows must have been coated with poison. I felt as if countless tiny insects were crawling over the wound, biting.
This is just a small lesson for you. If you still refuse to talk next time, it won't be just 2 arrows that hit you.
Looking at Marquis Yong'an's sinister face, I felt a surge of murderous intent as well. They found it from the building. From my capture to them finding me, it should take 2 days. I must stall this madman for that long. I gasped, feigning pain, and said to Marquis Yong'an, "My lord, since you found me, you surely checked the brothel's records. There are rules in the brothel. They only take orders from clients and never ask about their affairs. As for Madame Ling's whereabouts, I only know that she went southwest. She once hoped to see those steep mountain ridges. Madame mentioned that when the Marquis studied in Shu for 2 years, they planned to travel there together if given the chance." Hearing this, Marquis Yong'an clearly remembered. Silently, she summoned her subordinates and sent them to Shu to investigate.
Send people to Shu immediately. Learn what happened then.
She threatened me coldly.
I trust the Tower Master knows I have no patience or tolerance for you. If Shudu can't find any trace of my wife, I will with my own hand, slice the flesh from your body.
Marquis Yong'an. She left, and the light vanished. Darkness swallowed me. 2 days without food or water, I grew weak and dizzy. When I heard the sound of the door unlocking, in my daze I thought someone from the mansion had come to rescue me. It wasn't until I heard the approaching footsteps, disorderly and unsteady, that I realized the person coming was not here to save me. A waft of fragrance brushed past my nose, and with a click, a fire striker lit up. In front of me, I saw the delicate and captivating face of second Miss Jia. I wasn't wearing a disguise, and neither was she. She recognized me. Her probing gaze fell upon my face. At that moment, there was fear and panic in her eyes as she heard that Wai Shu had captured the owner of Dianzhuang. "So it was you after all? Did you say anything about me in front of her? This woman must have come today to silence me." I tried to explain. "Miss Ye, our Dianzhuang has rules. We never disclose any information about our guests to outsiders. I have never said anything about you in front of Marquis Yong'an." But this woman clearly wasn't listening to me anymore. There was a hint of malice in her eyes as she looked at me, cold and sinister. She said that only the dead can keep secrets forever. "My old master, forgive me. It was so hard for me to become a noble lady, so hard to achieve this. The only woman of the Marquis. I cannot allow even the slightest possibility of my current life of wealth and privilege being ruined." A cold glint flashed in her hand. A sharp dagger plunged into my chest with a muffled thud. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept in. I hurriedly called out to stop the newcomer. The blade turned. The hilt struck Miss Jia Yan on the back of her head, knocking her out cold on the ground. I breathed a sigh of relief, finally no longer holding back the pain, crying out in agony as I called out,
Yuan, break these chains and treat my wound!
Yuan silently treated my wound and gave me a restorative pill. He stopped once I looked better. He asked why, blaming me for ditching my guards to travel alone. I pouted, saying I just wanted a few carefree days. Who knew Marquis Yong'an would has some skills managing to track me down. These two, one ruthless, one vicious, are truly a perfect match. I tied up the second Miss Jia and left her in the corner, then fastened iron chains to her hands and feet. I quietly waited for the Marquis Yong'an to arrive. Since they set up an unexpected encounter for me, I have to return the favor. One night, the Marquis Yong'an came hurrying over, dressed all in black. This time, he didn't keep his distance. As soon as I arrived at the prison gate, I went straight in. In the cell, he grabbed me by the neck and said, "You dare lie to me?"
Looks like you're looking for death.
It seems that not being able to find the madam has driven him mad with rage. His eyes were bloodshot. His eyes red, he drew the sword from his waist, ready to strike. He aimed for the flesh on my shoulder. I grinned, revealing my teeth, and twisted my body. With the iron chain, I shot a silver needle straight at Marquis Yong'an's chest. He didn't expect me to fight back, so in an instant, he was hit by my drug. He collapsed limply to the ground, and I shouted up toward the roof. A Yuan dragged that woman over, and I couldn't help but wonder. Marquis Yong'an cherishes this beauty so much. How would he feel if he knew her true identity? A Yuan didn't say a word, went to the corner, hoisted Ye Guining over, and threw her at Marquis Yong'an's feet. Marquis Yong'an, drugged and powerless to resist, could only glare at me fiercely.
Don't move. I caught you, and if anyone wants to kill you, it should be me. If you have a problem, come at me.
I shook my head and pointed to the bloodstain on my chest, saying, "This stab wound was given to me by your precious concubine. If it weren't for my people..." Arriving in time and making sure her stab wasn't too deep, I would have been silenced by her by now. She would have killed me to cover her tracks. Marquis Yong'an didn't believe it.
Ning'er has always been gentle and timid. If you hadn't tied her up and brought her here, she wouldn't even dare step into this secret room.
Master Jia, second Miss is so frightened that all she can do is cry and beg.
My lord, save me.
I watched as the beauty wept, her tears falling like raindrops on pear blossoms. Seeing the look of heartache flash across Marquis Yong'an's face, I couldn't help myself. Clapping my hands in praise, I said, "What impressive acting! Is this how you deceived Marquis Yong'an into betraying his vows to his wife, your aunt, and spending night after night singing love songs with you? No wonder you were once the famed beauty, whose name spread throughout Yangliu Alley, Peony Hua." You really are skilled at playing with men, aren't you? Peony Hua's sobs grew sharper.
Shut up! Marquis, this woman is trying to frame me with her lies. How dare you?
Don't believe her. Marquis Yong'an watched with a dark look.
What do you mean by what you just said?
I pressed my foot against Peony Hua's neck, forcing her to face Marquis Yong'an. Lower your head. I held the lamp and bent down. I found a faint red dot beneath Peony Hua's ear and pointed it out to Marquis Yong'an. Marquis, you should have investigated our Dianzhuang Lu, where we change people's faces. The only trace left is this wound beneath the ear, where the parasite entered and exited. Take a good look. The person in front of you isn't even real. Miss Yor is merely using second Miss's face. Marquis Yong'an's pupils contracted slightly as he looked at Hua Mudan. He asked,
Tell me the truth, is what she said true? Who are you, actually?
Hua Mudan's face was filled with panic, but she still tried to argue.
Marquis, I am Yegining. I am your wife, the mother of your child. Don't listen to outsiders trying to sow discord.
I clicked my tongue and said, Mudan, trust requires mutual honesty. Since you won't be honest, I'll say it. Then, I turned to Marquis Yong'an. I said slowly, she was once the most famous courtesan of the Jiangnan Huayue brothel. Later, as she got older, she became the madam of the brothel. Don't be fooled by her current appearance. She looks like a 17-year-old fairy. But in reality, she's already 32 years old. Seems she's even 12 years older than you. The expression on Marquis Yong'an's face changed several times, probably because he couldn't believe he had actually slept with. An older Qinglong woman flatly denied it.
Impossible. Ning'er is delicate and innocent by nature. She doesn't seem like a woman in her 30s at all.
I sneered and asked, Marquis Yong'an, can't you tell for yourself whether it's true or not, if she really were a pure 17-year-old girl who hadn't crossed the line? How could she have bewitched you so completely? Do you really believe she has some extraordinary talent? Isn't it just a skill she honed after years of restraint in the pleasure quarters? I heard that Marquis Yong'an is a stickler for cleanliness. After hearing what I said, Marquis Yong'an began to imagine it. The woman by his side had once been enjoyed by countless lowly men. As expected, he